Hi friends, welcome to today's devotional. I am really excited to be able to be sitting in front of a Christmas tree. We got to decorate at the church this week and to set up because Advent starts this weekend, and I am really excited for it this year. I hope you are as well, aside from just the craziness of life these days, right? But I want to invite you to turn to I'm flipping there as we're doing this, Matthew 28. And we know this typically as the Great Commission. And we know what Jesus has often quoted saying, and go to all the nations, all the earth. And so I'm just going to read that bit here, starting in verse 16 of chapter 28. The 11 disciples traveled to Galilee, to the mountain where Jesus had directed them. When they saw him, they worshipped, but some doubted. Jesus came near and said to them, "All authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Go, therefore, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe everything I have commanded you. And remember, I am with you always, to the end of the age." And I usually read that very focused on the commission, the go out and spread the word, go spread it to the nations. And this week when I was reading it, I was really trying to put myself maybe in the shoes of the disciples in a different way. And for one, I think it starts out, we look at, there's only 11 of them, and you may be thinking, why? I thought there was 12. Well, remember Judas, he didn't last very long after he betrayed Jesus, and so they were left with having gone through what they did in the last little while with Jesus' death and resurrection and betrayal. And I think we often gloss over the fact that Jesus was betrayed by one of his very close friends. And even to put ourselves in the shoes of the other disciples and what they experienced in that betrayal had to be just catastrophic. We all know what it's like when we have somebody who is in our circle that maybe does something that's really horrible, even if it wasn't directed at us, still is a sense of betrayal. And so there's that we start out this passage with, but also going into the fact that it said that some doubted. And I think that's very interesting too, is that, again, here we are with these people, these men that walked with Jesus, and they had already seen his resurrection, and they still doubted. And in some ways that gives me comfort, because I'm like, okay, I've been a Christian a long time, and I still don't have to have this all figured out, because these men walked with Jesus. They saw all this stuff firsthand, and they still had concerns and questions. But I love how it says Jesus came near to them and said. And I think that is such an interesting thing too, is to remember that he came near to them. He didn't run. He didn't discipline them. He didn't get mad at them for doubting. He came near to them, and he encouraged them with his words. And one thing I also thought of this week too is, the disciples, they were starting on this new journey of their life, really. Christianity was a new thing. It was a new way of believing in the Messiah, the Messiah that had come and lived that perfect life and offered that perfect sacrifice of his own life for them and for the world. They had this new message, this maybe more complete message than they'd ever had before. And so it was new and it was scary, and they were walking into a world that wasn't terribly excited to hear from them. But what is so interesting to me, and what I want to challenge us with, because I've been really wrestling with this week and finding comfort as well as kind of a challenge in commissioning of my own, but the fact that they did not look to anybody else for comparison. They did not look to others and see, well, what are they doing? How are they living this out? No, they were looking to Jesus. Even though this is the precursor to him ascending to heaven, that is who they went into life with. They went in not seeking others' approval, not seeking to be like everybody else. They were not seeking anything else from anybody else. They were literally just following Jesus. They were following in his steps. They were following in his call on their lives. And I wonder if today, as we live in this day and age when we can be inundated with so many other people and we can so easily lose track of what Jesus actually wants us to see and hear and know in the midst of all the other really good things we hear. Because we do hear really good things. Even the fact that you're listening to this right now is you have access to technology to be hearing devotionals, which is fantastic. Like I love that fact that at any given moment I can find different devotionals from really wise and uplifting teachers and challenging teachers. I love that. I also have at my disposal a number of books that I can read at any given time. But what has called me back this week is to kind of strip back to who am I listening to first? Who am I listening to most? And who am I walking in the steps of? And I want it to be said of me that I walk in the steps of Jesus because I know him, I hear his voice, I hear him calling, and I follow him. I don't follow anybody else, but I follow him. And sometimes that is going to mean stepping out where nobody else has, or stepping out into something that maybe you're alone in, because I've certainly felt that at times. And so that's my challenge to us this week. Today is to ask, who are you listening to? Who are you following? And let it be Jesus that we do follow and hear and pattern our lives after, and not anybody else. Because other people are really good, and he gives us other people 100% of the time. Like, we definitely need community. We definitely need wise and godly leaders. We definitely need people who can speak into our lives and hold us accountable. But more than any of all that, we need Jesus. And so that is what I have for us today. Have a wonderful weekend ahead. May the first weekend of Advent just be so exactly what you need. And we will talk to you next time.